So last week, if you didn't catch it, you can go to truemindshift.com and you can catch last week. We did a gathering, and there was a couple of there was one new lady that was here, and it was a small group, but I took the opportunity to kind of recap what we'd covered in the first 6 classes. And the main thing that some of you have been here for, almost all of you at this point have been here for, that there were just a couple of axioms. Thoughts are things. And this is one of the most important axioms that we can begin to accept, because this is where your power is, right? Because anytime you have a thought, that thought creates an energy. Thought is a vibration. And when you verbalize it, when you add passion to it or energy to it, whether you're angry or you're excited or you're in love or whatever your passion may be, whatever the root of your passion is, it gives it more power. And it's much more likely to manifest. And when we as a culture, globally especially, are all thinking in a positive way, well, it's 2019 and we're going to make it a better year. We're going to do things differently. We set a couple of ideas for ourselves about how we want to improve our lives, or maybe improve our consciousness, or whatever the case may be. And so all of that's very, very positive. It's very, very positive. So
something about thoughts, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they become things too. Like I was thinking about, just take Henry Ford. He thought he wanted to manufacture a car or some type of transportation, but it took a while for that to become a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
right.
So thoughts, they become things, I think.
They do. They do.
Yeah. I don't know if they're things immediately.
Well, it depends.
Right.
If you were going to feed 5,000 people and there was no food available,
right,
depending on the power of your thought, you could literally manifest fishes and loaves. Anybody ever heard that story?
Yeah. Right.
Instantaneously. You want an apple, instantaneously it's available. Do you believe that's possible? No, you don't. If you did, you'd be doing it. You see, you're only experiencing what you believe, right? And so when we look at thoughts, and we're going to map it out. I don't know if we'll have time to get to it tonight, but we're going to map it out, and we're going to move all the way back to where's the cause, where's the source, right? So beliefs then become the triggers for our thoughts. Our thoughts become the triggers for our emotions, our feelings, and then those are the things that add the energy. The emotions and the feelings add the energy that creates the wave, if you will, that goes out and then reflects back. It can reflect back to you and somebody else feeding that energy back to you, okay? Let's say as an energy of anger. Have you ever been in an argument with somebody where they actually went toe-to-toe with you? In other words, you got angry and they got angry with you? They were mirroring back your energy, right? Or maybe you were mirroring back their energy, somebody's energy in a certain position. But you've also been in a place where you would be in a room or a setting where 2 other people were in that energy, but you chose not to be in that energy. You were holding back. You were not adding to it, let's say. And that's really the amazing thing about thoughts, that we don't get it, or we weren't taught it, because we've been told that the world is the cause and we're the effect. But that's a lie. You're the cause. And you're the cause through your thoughts. And you're absolutely right, John. Thoughts do become things because somebody had an idea, and Claudia and I were talking about this the other day. Somebody had an idea that wouldn't it be nice to have something to sit on besides a log or a rock? And they, out of love of creation, maybe for their family members, maybe they had an elderly person or a child, and they said, I'm going to make a chair so that my child can sit up at the same level that we do around the table, out of love, right? Thoughts eventually can become manifest as our experience, but it could take thousands of thoughts. It could have taken thousands and thousands of thoughts before this table actually became manifest in your experience, all the way up to the point that somebody made a decision to purchase this for this community. right? And somebody else agreed with that, and then they sent out an energy and said, hey, well, we want that. And then that was a loving thought as well. We want that to serve our community.
It made me think about the center, like, I guess it was Mick had the thought that he wanted to create, and then that's what manifested.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it seems like not all thoughts become things. Like Henry Ford was like, I want to be an astronaut. Just on a whim, he doesn't go be an astronaut.
Right.
So
Not all thoughts become things, and that's why I was using the reference of anger as an example. It becomes an experience, but not necessarily a concrete physical experience, but it's still an experience, right?
every thought is some sort of experience.
Every thought is the genesis for the potential of an experience. And so every thought is out there as a potential. You have the thought, you create the potential. Now, how much energy do you give it? You've heard this expression. James Arthur Ray, I think, shared this, and it was like, energy flows where attention goes. Energy flows where attention goes. What does that mean?
Well, where your thoughts go, where your energy, yeah.
Because whatever you're focused on, you're a tune, you're a receiver and a transmitter. That's you. You're a receiver and transmitter. So you tune your dial into a thought, and you're focused on that thought, you're transmitting it. Energy flows where attention goes. So you're giving something your thought, right? And then when you add passion to it, or more energy, it creates much faster.
Or maybe a belief that that thought can manifest.
Right, and the only reason, and I want to go back to your point because I think it's a good one, the only reason it's not manifesting instantaneously for us is because we have doubt about this spiritual principle. We believe it on a level, but not wholeheartedly. You don't really believe you can manifest an apple right now, do you? And you're saying no.
Or you believe you can manifest like $20, but it's harder to believe you can manifest $100K. Like it's,
Yes,
you know.
but you're really just doing the same thing. If you're going to say, I'm going to manifest $20, put a couple more zeros on it.
Right.
Maybe 3 or 4. Why not?
Because we're programmed and resistant.
Programmed is exactly the right word. We are conditioned through fear. And so we say, I want this, come on, but don't come too fast. Wait a minute, don't come right now. Well, I got to get ready, or I'm not worthy, or I don't believe it, or whatever. And then pretty soon we're like, and then we say, well, I didn't want this. But your thoughts are things. And your thoughts ultimately do create your experience. The other thing I want to say is, don't put yourself too deeply into the microscope, because there is a bigger part of you. We talked about the sleeping self, very happy sleeping self, that is contained within the you that you believe you're the personality self. This is you, right? Which is contained within the mind, if you will, of the higher self. Could be called the soul, right? The soul self, the higher self, the Christ consciousness, the awakened mind. This sleeping self would be like this little dot, right? And this you is like a little bigger dot in all of this. But then that's all then contained, if we could circumscribe it, in the mind, if you will, of God. So it's all contained within one. This is when we say you and God are one, you and God are still all one. You're one. Ideas leave not their source. In other words, God had an idea called you. God had an idea of expressing love, and you're it. And you and God are one. And what's your purpose? That is the thing that bothers most people their whole life. They're trying to figure out what's their purpose. Anybody got any ideas on that?
Be happy.
Be happy, that's a good one.
Yeah, Richard.
Express love.
Express love, that's a good one.
Awaken.
Awaken, a really good one.
Maybe to remember who we actually are, like it's a game.
Okay. Remember who we are like a game, right? So what would you be disappointed if I shared some news with you and said that you have no purpose?
Thank God.
Trick question, Tony.
Is that disturbing?
A little bit.
It is. Well, because we've been programmed, we've been conditioned that we're supposed to have value, we're here for a reason, which obviously, even if we don't know what it is yet, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing until somebody's impressed enough and finally says, no, now I know why you're here. But that's an external idea. That's an idea of this self, the small self, the personality self, that's constantly validating why it's here to begin with, because it doesn't know you. It doesn't know the real capital Y-O-U. This is nothing more than your right mind, capital R, right, true mind, capital S, self.
So
This
you're
mind
saying-
doesn't know that self. Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying we really don't have a purpose?
Not according to what the world would define for you and what you've been told by well-thinking and good-intentioned people and some who just want your money, right? They just want to control you.
We have a higher purpose, right?
Do you?
And the big, it's a question. I mean, you wouldn't be up there teaching this if there wasn't some higher channeled,
What could it be?
downloaded purpose.
Well,
He wants our money, yeah.
You want my money. Give me some purpose.
I want to experience your money. You are here simply when the only purpose and the only intention you really have is experience. There's no value. Last week we talked about, well, I shouldn't say it was last week, it's actually started this week. Is anybody tracking the Course in Miracles, the lessons that began on Monday, on the first day of the year? Lesson number 1, does anybody know what it is?
It means nothing has meaning.
What is that? What'd you say?
Nothing has meaning.
Nothing in this room, in this place, in this, look around. Nothing here means anything.
Painting might.
It might if you give it some meaning,
Yeah, you're right.
but your meaning might be different than Jesse's or mine
Right.
or Laurel's, right? Nothing in this room, in this space, in this building, on this street, in this city, in this world means anything. Crap. What are you going to do with that? Where's your purpose at now?
Well, it's having the experience,
It is having the experience,
doing whatever.
doing whatever. And the key word there, underlined, is whatever you want. That's what you're here to do, is experience. And as soon as somebody tells you what you're supposed to experience, you're out of alignment with your true self. You've shrunk yourself down into a fearful personality. Somebody's saying there's something that actually exists as a should and a shouldn't. Our entire religious system is built on those ideas.
But in the way of mastery, you talked about the curriculum
Mhm.
in this existence, being moving from your squiggle victim to your squiggle manifestor all the way up to mystic.
Right.
So is that part of the experience? Or
Well, yes, it is part of the experience, but here's the deal, okay? This self, let's go back all the way to this sleeping self. I mean, you can take drugs that'll keep you in a coma perpetually until somebody quits giving you the drug. Would you like to have that experience? Sometimes. But not perpetually, right? Because perpetually, what are you doing? You're not experiencing what the real physical world, the sensual world that we live in now. You're not experiencing that. In a state of dream, everything that you're doing can be felt like it's physical, and it does, but it's very flimsy in structure. It's not near as concrete as this experience, right? So no, I would want to wake up from only that small mind, because that small mind is so myopic, it doesn't even know that you're asleep. Right? And so, of course, you would want to wake up, right? In fact, the you that you are right now would be the self that would be going, I want to wake up. I want to return to that state of mind, a state of mind of higher, can I use this word, consciousness? Isn't it true that you're in a diminished state of consciousness when you're asleep? Yes, can we agree on that?
I don't know if diminished is the right word.
Well, you don't know where you are.
Well, Well,
You don't know that you're
that's
safe.
not
You don't know
right.
that you're safe and home in bed. You're.
But diminish just seems like a kind of a harsh word.
It is a harsh word.
Recharging is what I'm doing, honestly.
Well, that's one idea.
Well, maybe it alters consciousness. I could have
That's true. If you believe you're a body, that's
Well,
also an
I
idea.
believe I'm not a body, I'm recharging
Charging what?
my energy.
Oh, so you're energy? Are you energy?
I am.
Okay. And you'll disagree with a lot of what I'll say because I'm going to say you're not. You're not any of that. You are consciousness. Your consciousness that is aware of energy. Love is energy. Are you aware of love? Are you aware that the chair you're sitting in right now is loving your butt?
I am love.
That felt pretty good.
Right? And love went into it when it was made, right? So when we really start, it's kind of like the Alice in Wonderland thing, and you start going down the rabbit hole, and after 2 or 3 turns, it starts getting pretty wonky. And sometimes it's so wonky and it pushes against our perception of reality that we don't even want to talk about it anymore. So you, by being in this particular group, are a very brave soul. You have a sincere and deep and profound longing. Or you wouldn't be here talking about this. You'd be like, I don't need that shit. Right? Because you truly do want to know your capital S self. And the only way to get to it is to begin to understand the obstacles to the awareness of it. And those obstacles are thoughts. Your thoughts. Thoughts are things, and they become a curtain between you and the reality of what you are. The dreams you have at night are a curtain to the truth of knowing where you are, who you are, what your day is going to be like, what city you're sleeping in, whether or not you're married, how many kids you got. You got all this life that this self is quite familiar with and believes is absolutely concrete and real, capital R real. It's my reality. It's my experience. I've constructed it. Yes, you have. You've made all the choices carefully, some not so carefully, to bring yourself to this very moment of this experience right here and now. But there is, just like this self doesn't want to be asleep perpetually. I'm coming back around to answer your question, Laurel.
Do you see it?
Your higher self also knows that this self is still a dreaming self. I know you think you're awake right now. Pinch yourself. Yes, I felt it. But you have dreams at night and you think they're absolutely real until you wake up and go, whew, that was just a dream. Right? So another axiom we could add to our list that we've been talking about is saying that dreams have no effect. No matter who got killed last night and who you murdered in your sleep, you didn't get up this morning and run down to the police station and turn yourself in. Because they're just going to turn you out. Who'd you kill? Well, I don't know their name. When'd you do that? In one of my dreams last night. Well, as far as they're concerned, if there's no physical evidence, it didn't really happen. Yes? Well, what happens when all of the last few thousand years there's no physical evidence? Gone. We have little remnants of it, but we try to piece that back together so that we can say, oh yeah, it really happened, it really happened, it really happened. But Spirit is saying, you're still dreaming. This self, your true self, never has dreamed a dream of separation, of being separate or being different than what it was created to be as God created you to be. God is Spirit.
Can I go back to your no purpose thing? It's bothering me.
Good.
Well, I find that everybody I meet has something that they do in this sleeping world in the middle that brings them more joy than other things. In my case, I really like doing photography. Somebody else might like building dollhouses. Somebody else might like gardening. Something that they do, it's like tapping them into a higher experience. But everyone has a different thing.
It's pointing to this.
Would it be an experience?
Well, so that's what I would call like my purpose is to find that sense of timeless awareness, where I can do something that just, the world kind of melts away and I just do it, and everybody's thing is different. But it is still in the dreaming world. Photography is not in some higher self world, it's in this world.
Could it be possible that you're just playing God and you're giving everything all the meaning that it has, and you're using a value system that you've created of what you like, what's good and what's bad? And you can go down the street and there's 100 guys over here, and you're a single woman and you're looking to get married, and you're looking, yes, no, 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 maybe, no. You have a value system that you've spent a lot of time creating so that you can experience what you believe you prefer. It's still a value system nonetheless. It's giving things meaning. But the lesson for the week is everything has no meaning.
If everything has no meaning, doesn't that mean I could go be an accountant and like express joy?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's where I'm confused. 'cause
But is it what you want to do? But
something else.
but is it what you want to do?
See, that's where I get confused.
Well, see, but now you're talking about desire, which is a wonderful topic. And we've talked about it actually in the Way of Mastery. We continue to talk about it because desire is like, we call it purpose to make it magnanimous and very important. I'm fulfilling my purpose, but you're just doing what you like to do. And then you say, it's my heart's desire. Okay, well now we're getting down to this self, because this self has a desire, and this self loves and knows what its desire is concretely, or without any potential for misinterpretation of perception, okay? And that is for you to wake up, to pop the bubble, just to escape.
Well, we might have to define what meaning means. Like, if everything has no meaning, what does meaning mean?
Okay, great question. Okay, so what is this? This is a,
Table?
how do you know?
You told me earlier.
Somebody told you.
Somebody told you.
Somebody told you that is its name. And we use names, labels, right? We use labels to provide meaning. And so when I say tree, you just brought all of your experiences of tree into this moment. Everything that you, and I'll guarantee that the person next to you is not seeing right now that image in their mind that you're seeing of a tree. It's impossible. Why? Because we all have our own thought system that we have filtered out what we desire and what we want to experience, and we discard everything that we don't value. Did anybody see a dead tree? Probably not. Unless you have some value system for a dead tree or a tree that's been cut down and you're thinking, oh, new house. That's how I see trees because I'm a logger. Or maybe you're the kind of person that hugs trees and you want to save the trees for the owls and the whatever, and and so you think that that person's wrong because they want to cut them down, and they think that you're wrong because you want to cause them to survive. Those are thoughts that are creating energy fields that cause experiences to be had that are sometimes unpleasant. It all comes back to this. Experiences come back to thoughts. So what are you thinking? See, this is you taking your power back. This is really cool. Right? If you really begin to get how powerful you are, when a thought that has been bringing you negativity and you know you've got some, how do I know that? Because you know you've had some negative experiences, yes? But I wanted to say earlier, don't put yourself too deeply under the microscope, because your soul, your higher self, you're nothing more than your right mind, has its purpose, and it's working that behind the scenes, invisible to you. Some people call it unconscious or subconscious or behind the veil or the invisible or spirit, or we give it all these names. But it is the higher self, more mind that is connected or never disconnected with God. It's not really circumscribed. But the point is that this self does, in fact, have a desire for this one, you, to pop the bubble that you put yourself in and awaken back to your true self.
What
To-
happens when you pop the bubble? How do you know if you've popped the bubble?
Oh, you will know. You will absolutely know, because you'll realize that those thoughts aren't your thoughts. You will, if you haven't already, and you're already having thoughts that are coming to you, but you may yet still be recognizing them and thinking that that was my thought. You take ownership of it, and that's okay, because in one way or another, it is yourself, and it does, sounds like that voice that's always been in your head, it is you. But a time will come when you'll begin to realize, wait a minute, I didn't have that thought. That's not my thought. You're beginning to be communicated with directly, and this is an access point, in and out. Remember, you're a transmitter and a receiver. And this is where the receiver part comes in. Transmitting, oh, you've been good at that. You've been doing that your whole life, no problem. First time you took a breath, you started screaming. That was a horrible experience. I was compressed. I couldn't breathe.
But I think the higher self, our inner self, is talking to us all the time, but a lot of times we're not conscious of it.
Yes.
Because we're distracted by external.
Yes. Yes. So the word for tonight, thank you so much for segueing into that, is M-A-K-Y-O. Makyo. Makyo. Write that one down. And here's the definition. Spiritual distraction. The world. Buddha called it samsara in the Buddhist culture. It was called samsara. And then, wasn't there another word, Claudia, that you referred to when we were talking about that recently? It was something else. I can't remember. Oh, what is it?
Maya?
Maya. Maybe it was Maya. Yeah. Is that the Indian culture? Right. Everybody has their definition, if you will, for the world, the energy of the world. But Makyo is anything that is distracting you from spiritual truth of your higher self. And so we have been practicing for thousands of years now, right, in meditation to block out or to set aside or move behind me all this makyo, all this spiritual distraction. And we use meditation to practice so that we can be in a state of higher consciousness, right? What is that higher consciousness? Getting in touch with my true self. And what do we find there? There are some meditators in the room. What do you experience when you meditate? Anyone?
Expansiveness.
Expansiveness. Wonderful.
Nothingness.
Nothingness.
Is there really nothingness?
There is a void that we're going to be, if you hang with me, we're going to be going on a journey. We're going to begin to discover the journey of the soul, right? And without letting the genie too far out of the bottle, because you can't get him back in there once you let him out of the bottle, right? We could say that we moved, I'll just use the term, we moved through a ring of fire, and once we came through that, there was, for the first time in our experience, an experience of the void. And a lot of people really, especially that might be atheistic, or really feel like that's all that there is outside of God, or if there even is a God, that there's nothing. And that was one of our first experiences. There was a sense, if you will, of disconnect between ourselves and our source, because up until that point, you see, our purpose was simply to echo by giving our attention to the thoughts of God, which are only and always an energy of love. Thoughts of love. And when we pretended to play our game, and you didn't do that by yourself, right? You had to have a partner. Yeah, you're holding hands there. That's good. Anybody familiar with the Adam and Eve story?
Oh, yeah. I think that's an apple.
It could be an apple.
I think they manifested one.
They manifested an apple. And Eve, as much as she wanted to experience the tree and that story and you have to understand, now these are all metaphors, because the mind of the cat cannot drive the car, okay? Can't drive the bus or the car. The little cat mind can't contextually even begin to fathomize, even begin to even imagine what this could even be. Just to put a label, just to put a name on it is beginning to give it meaning. Yes, and everybody has their idea of this word called God. This little mind cannot conceive, and so the best we can do, and Spirit's given us some help here, our higher self is working to reintegrate itself into wholeness so that you're in an awakened state. The reason it's doing that is because it knows that part of it is still kind of groggy, it's still a little sleepy, a part of my mind is still asleep. This is kind of how you feel in the morning when you wake up, and you're still kind of you're drifting in and out of dreams, but you're not quite awake till you get up and get that first shot of caffeine, right? Or the shower or whatever you need to, to come fully now present. And now you've completely forgotten within moments, literally, the dreams you had last night, because dreams have no effect, and you realize that they have no effect. That was just makyo. It was nothing. It really has no meaning. So when we say everything in this room, in this space, in this place, in this city, in this town, in this building, in this world has no meaning, what we're really saying is dreams have no effect. You are always dreaming. And that's tough because this seems so real. Yes, it does. But when you're meditating and you feel that expansiveness, and another one that comes for me personally is this sense of peace. Nothing wrong, nothing needs to be fixed, nothing needs to be done. I just want to hang out there anymore. And when we maybe first begin to experience this idea, Michelle, of a void, of this complete isolation, aloneness, we really begin to grasp the idea that no, that's really not possible. See, because God created you in a relationship. You cannot be outside of a relationship. You can turn the volume down on the receiver and believe that there's really nothing that the radio is picking up, but it's still picking up. You're the one's not tuning into it. And so ultimately you find this access point to your higher self, and the communication begins to really flow.
What I experienced something today, it kind of was revelation was, if you're not living in the now, you miss a lot of smiles from different people.
Yeah.
And I just noticed that because a lot of times people are in a rush and they don't even notice the person next to them, like in the grocery store or anything. And today I was in Whole Foods and I was walking through it like 3-4 times because I had to pick up a lot of stuff. And I met so many people, all different shapes and sizes. And if you just took a minute to look at them, you got a smile. And it made me realize by being in the presence, you could get a smile. And it just made me slow down a little bit. And that was
Beautiful.
It was a revelation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And because you can experience the connectedness of our brothers and sisters, whoever they are, wherever they are.
And they're
Right?
God. I mean, if I'm God, they're God.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Just like the chair you're sitting in.
that's God's chair. Yeah.
So imagine yourself out here, if you will, as the higher self in the mind of God. And by the way, there's no Makyo in there. We would have to put Makyo out here in the idea of the separated self, believing that it could be out here in its own little bubble, right? That would be this self out here.
Is the void not real? What is
The
the void?
void isn't real. There is no such thing as a void. Ultimately, what is drifting off to sleep, and then you've forgotten that you're safe at home in bed, right? And so we could say that is an experience of the void. So you fill that void with your imagination, don't you? And I share with you guys that, if that every conversation you're having with anybody in your state of dreaming is you're having a conversation with yourself. There's nobody else in there. It's just you, and you're projecting your thoughts into that whoever's appearing that you've projected into your dream.
What about when you dream something and then it comes true? What about that? What's that? Or you have a premonition from a dream, or you...
It goes back to this. Thoughts are things. A lot of times our dreams are expressions of our desires that are unfulfilled in the reality that we're experiencing as in form and human. And we just want this thing so much, then we have a dream and we start dreaming and it becomes, because in a dream state there's nobody else in there but you, basically, and you can manifest things much quicker. You can have an apple right now. Now ask yourself that. If I'm dreaming, right, what experiences do you have in the state of dream? Things appear just instantly. Just instantly. In fact, when I'm just waking up in the mornings, a lot of mornings, my mind will just be in that almost awake state, but still kind of drifting. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens frequently. I'll go into it's like a slideshow that's being pop, 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 and it just images, just like that. Pop, 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 pop. And it's just the weirdest stuff. It can be all kinds of stuff. You see, that's the foundation that dreams are built on, just images that are cycling through your mind. And you're just picking up, because you're a receiver, you're picking up on images, and it's just, and then you'll grab one and that becomes a dream. That's the foundation for a dream. And then it just keeps moving all night long until you wake up the next day. Yes, you're doing that here. But this is so much more concrete because billions of us, humans, well, spirit, children of God are acting human, right? You're acting human. You're not really human. And billions of us are holding these thoughts of the way things are based on our belief system, our constructs. And so that locks us down into a much more concrete experience that not only is it here when I go to sleep, it's still here when I wake up. It's changed a little bit.
So are you saying that we have this world because we thought of the world? Everyone thinks of it as a world. So if we stopped thinking, if we collectively thought a thought, then that would be what it would...
It just collapse. Just collapse, right? This whole experience that you're having right now, it literally collapses to you as an experience when you go to sleep. You don't even know that you're safe and home in bed. You create another universe out of ideas and thoughts, right? And they become things that you manifest all night long in your own dreamscape.
So how do we... Is there a shortcut?
Yes, there is a shortcut, and you found it, right? You're here. You're literally digging into answer those questions. What's the truth? Okay, and it comes down to some simple questions, by and large. Well, we're going to say, excuse me, who am I? That's a big one. And that's the first question you asked yourself here, and then you begin to realize that you weren't alone. We're going to explore this journey of the soul. We're going to look at a different metaphor. It's still the same story. We're just going to look at a different metaphor than the one that's kind of been handed down to us through Western culture, through the Judeo-Christian teaching.
Well, who am I? That goes back to Lauren's question about purpose, because a lot of people say, well, who are you? And then you tell them I'm a photographer or whatever, a painter or a carpenter. And then we define ourselves in the human experience as those things.
Yes.
To go deeper of who am I spiritually, I guess, is a different question.
It is. I mean, so when people ask you that, if somebody says, well, who are you? Do you ever reply, well, I'm Christ?
No. Gotta tell you, no.
Well,
Throws me over.
Yes, Christ conscious.
Yeah, right. Christ was speaking.
right? Because we identify Christ as a personage, right? We've been conditioned, programmed, and that's why so many people are like, well, I don't want to talk about Jesus, because we say Jesus Christ as that's his first name and last name. I mean, it's the personage, yes? But it's not. It never was Jesus any more than it is you right now. This is who you are.
had awakened in this existence, which I don't think we have yet. I'm judging.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
Based on your question. No.
I'm waking up.
Like,
Yes.
I thought that word represented Jesus was a person who had reached mystic level in this experience.
He became the embodiment of the Christ energy. Now, when we talk, and all of us, I think, in this space now, we've all practiced this little affirmation we've been doing. Word, I am Word, right? And we've been saying to each other, I know who you are. I know what you are. I know how you serve. When we do that, we're really literally invoking the higher self. We're coming to a higher consciousness. We're looking at this other person, and we're looking to their deepest part of them. We're looking to the soul self. We're looking to the higher self. We're looking to the true self. Nothing more than their right mind, that self that never gone to sleep. And we're using the self within us. We're raising ourselves to that level, and we're speaking now, giving it voice. As Jesus said, when you see me, you see the Father. He could have just simply said, Word, I am Word. Right?
But I would have said, but what's the word?
And what is the word? Because we have to give word meaning. And what is the meaning of word?
Energy of the Creator in action.
Energy of the Creator in action.
But nothing has meaning.
No, but it has, in God, it does. Because God is love. Because that is eternal. God thoughts are thoughts of eternal existence. God, and it's really hard for us, remember, we're trying to get the cat to drive the car, but the thought of God, the thoughts, quote unquote, of God, how do I know that they're real? Because you're sitting here.
But wouldn't that be, I mean, this gets back to what's our purpose? Our purpose is to, through experiences, is to reach this level of consciousness, Christ consciousness, awakening, whatever the right words are. It's to move into that realm. I was going to say mystic, but I don't know if I.
No, that's a word. That's great.
To
That's a great
move
word.
to that level. So there is a purpose. We do have a purpose.
Yes.
Okay.
But the purpose that you're defining, the desire that you're defining, is the purpose of your higher self. Is that really the purpose that you've had your whole life, the small self? No, its purpose is to survive, to keep this physical form alive.
But I would say the purpose of the smaller self is to have the experiences to get in touch with the higher self.
Right.
To kind of break it down through
But-
meditation, through.
But the smaller self doesn't really ever want you to have that experience. Because whenever you're focused on this self, the higher self, you just turned your back on the ego self.
Right.
And what do your children want most from you?
Your attention.
Yes.
Money, probably.
What do you think God wants from you? Your attention. Energy flows where attention goes. So if your energy is focused on the Makyo, then God, there's a separation, a perceived separation. There's a disconnect. This ego self really doesn't want you to just give your attention. You know, does your child, like, would you want your child to, you know, let's say you were married and you had this wonderful spouse or whatever, and that's all good and well, but you got this great kid too, but the kid just doesn't even know you exist. It only gives your spouse all of its attention. How would that make you feel? Like, what the hell is that? I'm here, I'm doing, I'm loving. I mean, if you're truly loving, you would be loving with no expectation of return, so it wouldn't bother you at all. So that would be your higher self. Now you're getting into that mystic consciousness. Oh, I have this baby, and it only pays attention to its mother. It has nothing to do with its father. I'm a mystic, I don't care. You see? But that's not the way that the ego operates. The ego only operates by getting attention. It steals energy. It's an energy thief. And it's stealing energy, because if I don't have your attention as an ego, then I'm not validated as a self. That's how it validates itself. But how the Christ self is validated is simply by echoing, if you will, by recognizing the thoughts of love that are already there, the thoughts of God that are true. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, I was gonna say, where did the ego come from?
Right here, when you were in the void, you didn't like it. Because you'd always been tuned in to thoughts of love, and now you're alone, and you're in this place of darkness. There's just nothing. And so you kind of started creating a mind of thinking, a thinking self. Again, please understand that these are metaphors. We're trying to get this small mind to just relax enough that it can accept a story long enough to just sit down and shut up, right? So that we can tune into our higher desires, our true self. And so what you're saying, Karen, is absolutely true. When we are tuned into this self, we're allowing this self to be, if you will, our teacher, our self. We're letting this self drive the bus. We're now sitting back a little bit.
You're saying there's no purpose for the small self or ego self, but there is a purpose for the higher self.
Right, well, I'm going to back up a little bit, and so I'm talking out both sides of my mouth tonight, thank you very much, and that is that, yes, the small self does have a purpose, which is to survive, because if my body, then I'm not in the physical self. So let's go back here, let's say that this was the wall of fire, so to speak, and we push through it, we sail through it, whatever. Why would we do that? Because isn't it cool? Imagine yourself as spirit. Can't smell anything. You can see it. It has color, it has presence, but smelling it, boy, you got to be physical to do that. What about real touch, real embrace, sex? That's cool. Sensuality, seeing something with the eyes, the physical eye. What a cool thing to have the courage. I want to go, see, we're back to this. I want to go experience physicalness.
Well, that's why you came.
Yes. There's a higher purpose to it that we will uncover, but it's not the purpose of the small self. The small self is all about the makyo. The small self is all about spiritual distraction, about survival as physical form. Where we're going now and what we are collectively in this new energy, and yes, things are changing. This had never really been, we were having some fun the other day, and, why is it that we don't know what's going to happen next? And what came through was because you haven't thought of it yet. You don't know what your next experience is really going to be because you haven't thought of it yet. Or somebody else hasn't thought of it, and it's manifesting collectively as an experience for you and me.
Well, in a way, we do know what's going to happen, and that's by what we're vibrating now.
Well, yes, it's going to reflect. So, but those of us that you in particular that are changing the way you're thinking and dropping these thoughts of fear and exchanging those for forgiveness or allowance, well, now you're operating at a higher level, and so that's creating a new energy. And that could override 1,000 or 5,000 or maybe 10 or 20,000 people's idea of fear, because this is a much higher power field. Right?
Well, I know when I'm thinking negative thoughts, and if I'm doing something, I'll drop something, or I'll bump my head, or I'll do something, and immediately I know what I was thinking. I'll go, well, that was stupid to be thinking that negative thought about that guy, and then, so it kind of tells you, what you're thinking.
It does. That's right. But since we have free will, you can decide against what you were already intending in that potential bubble. Let's say, just imagine a room full of bubbles and each one's a potential. And that one just pops. It's just no longer potential because you just let go of it. You have free will, so you're constantly changing. But what I wanted to get back to what I was going to say was that the whole idea we've got now, and then Jesus, if you'll allow me to use his teaching, is saying, well, okay, so we've kind of changed our mind, because when I was fully embodied Christ, when I became the fully embodied Christ consciousness in human form, it was really pretty cool.
What?
It was pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
And wouldn't it be cool if that's what we do here? All of us. Imagine millions of us being truly enlightened and operating from the mind of God. The higher self is just a conduit to the thoughts of truth, the thoughts of God. We would then, and we will, and it's already begun, literally begin to create a new earth. And so that's kind of, if we want to say we have a purpose, that's kind of what the awakened, ascended masters, if you will, are kind of starting to see, that seems to be, that's our underlying intention now, is that we want to create a new world. We want to create a world of peace and love, of awakened beings, living in harmony in physical form. Because we can still experience that smell, that taste, that touch, that sensual experience of physicality. Why not? Because we have the power to do it, but we can't do it until we truly, fully remember who and what we are, and then become the embodiment of that self. So the first question here was, who am I? And the first thing that helped us to realize who we were is simply when we said, wait a minute, I exist. You have never not existed. That truth will always be with you. You can't shake that. Now, you might redefine who you are based on the clothes you wear, the haircut you have, the color of your skin, the job you have, whatever the personality self, the small self, has defined as what you are. But even that self can't exist this. Even the most devout atheist can't deny that truth. You exist, right? And so I am that I am. And this is the statement that reflects this truth. I am that I am. The I am statement, you guys have heard it, is one of the most powerful statements you can make. Well, I'm so tired. I am tired. I just defined everything. I'm the one who is triggering my next experience based on my thoughts that I'm using to give something meaning to. I am this, I am that, all day long. People, what's going on? Well, I am Christ. When you change, when you interrupt the pattern, you start having a new experience. You start taking back your power.
So what do you say if someone says, who are you, Tony? What do you say if someone says, who are you?
Well, I want to consider, out of love and compassion, I want to consider the other person, right? Whoever I'm talking to. So in the practice that we're going to focus on and continue to teach and focus on, it has lots of different labels, right? And of course in Miracles it's called the Holy Instant. And so in the classroom, if you'll go join me in the classroom, I had a talk called that I gave one time, and I talk about the Holy Instant, right? But the Holy Instant isn't, for us it's an instant in time. We think of time. When I say instant, I know most of us are thinking in time. But the Holy Instant is really the eternal now, because there is no time and spirit. Again, the cat can't get it because its only reference is time and space, right? And 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional. So,
Do you think, I was trying to think back to Adam and Eve and how we've evolved, and then 2,000 years ago there was Jesus, and they didn't have, and I was thinking about how mankind has evolved. I think we're at a higher state than we were maybe 800 years ago.
in some ways we are. I mean, of course, they all had organic food back then.
Yeah, they probably did.
Yeah. No, it absolutely was.
Yeah.
Everything was organic.
But there was famine and starvation.
There was some of that, absolutely. There was warring, and there was always this power struggle between these people got divorced and then they went to war.
Right.
You know, whatever that was.
Well, and then I was thinking about the Vikings, and they would do human sacrifices as
Yes.
a way
Yeah.
of pleasing the gods.
Yes. Well, that comes back from the pagan ideas. And originally, kind of a sidebar, but originally they were on the right course because, anybody ever heard the term Gaia? Right? What is that? Reference to, it's the world, as we know it, the earth, the planet Earth, Gaia. Well, Gaia is actually an entity, a spirit. Did you know that rocks? Rocks are just rocks. No. Everything is God.
Right.
And so it's an idea in the mind of God that's expressing itself, and Gaia came here first to this rock and infused it with life in anticipation of your arrival. There's a bigger plan afoot that I want you to know about. But we got to get past some of these resistances we have to our present experience. We got to go all the way back here to begin to accept, is it possible that you could be Christ? Well, hell yeah. It is you. You heard it. All power in the heaven and earth is whose? Didn't say, well, all power in the heaven and earth is Jesus Christ. No. It said, it's you. It's yours. It's you. It's all been the whole stories, all the stories you've ever heard. They're your story. It's all about you. Everything's about you. This is about you awakening. And then there's one argument, and I'll call it an argument. That's what's so much fun about, talking about all these things, because you can't touch it or you can't say I'm wrong. You have to find out for yourself, right? You have to find out for yourself and start to receive your own validations, course of validations. I don't bring my phone up here, so I have no idea what time it is.
8:09.
Okay, so we're almost through with the first topic, and I was going to try to cover 3. Right, but you see, we're getting back now to, I'm trying to lay a good foundation for you of how the mind could metaphorically be structured so that you can just set it aside. Say, okay, I got that. You don't have to spend too much time on it. There's more stuff to get. And then it'll come back around to it. We're going to come back around to it, right? So if we can accept this and we begin to start to think about what our journey truly has been on a higher level, as told to us now through Spirit, so it's unfiltered. It's not somebody else's interpretation. I read something just this week. It said, the Bible's really cool, except it wasn't written by any enlightened people. Momentarily, they would stumble upon the truth because they were taking some of the teachings from enlightened people, but there's only been a handful. And now there's only about 9,000 or 10,000 enlightened ascended masters in the Ascended Masters Club, right? After all these years. Imagine only 9,000 or 10,000 people that have actually moved through the levels of consciousness and the map that we've all talked about. Everybody's seen that, right? We moved through and got to the mystic consciousness and got to the place of no fear. Got to the place where they realized they didn't even need to be incarnated anymore. Right? So Adamus St. Germain, who I'm going to share a book with you, and we're going to study that next week. We'll just be working on chapter 2. We'll just read, these are very short chapters, and you won't spend probably 30 minutes reading and but we're going to talk through those, and that's going to start pulling up a lot of resistance and a lot of questions. And we'll ferret through it, right? We'll move through it. And after we get through this book, then I'm going to take you through another teaching, which is, again, another metaphor for this journey that you've taken, just to kind of, take another seat around the table and look at this bouquet of flowers from a different perspective. Again, they're metaphors. It's okay.
You talked about the ascended masters, and I thought that they got to the point where they didn't want to come back to Earth. I don't know if I believe that or not.
Right. And I get that, right? But what I'm sharing with you, and I'll make this commitment to you, I'm only trying to stay plugged into the work of ascended masters. And I believe, and the reason I'm doing this, because as much as I've tested it, and they're all teaching the same thing, as much as I tested it, and I'm trying not to give you any of my interpretation whatsoever. I'm trying to repeat to you what has been shared with us now through Ascended Masters, and it's coming fast and furious. And I'm going to eventually step away because you'll be connected to them, and they'll be your teachers, and I'll be, a student with you, etc. But eventually, those questions will be answered for you through those teachers and through this discussion here. And maybe a bumper sticker that you see tomorrow on somebody's car.
Okay,
Right?
I'll look for one.
Okay? Just ask the question. Put it out there. And then don't fill in the blank and wait for the light bulb to come on. It will, if you'll allow it to happen. And for immediate results, apply infinite patience. Okay? Right. So the next thing that I talked about last week, I didn't get too deep into it, but it was really going to be the bigger part of what I wanted to talk tonight about. But it's our assignment for the month. So you can write it down real quick. What's the assignment for the month of January? The assignment for the month of January for all of us
It's infinite patience.
is almost that, but it is actually, I guess that's a good way of saying it, but we'll use another word. It's called allowance. Allowance of all things. And you only have to do it for a month, so it's no big deal. So I'm going to help you by constructing, how much time do we have?
32 seconds.
Okay.
15 minutes.
Okay, we can do it. All right. So this is, as you guys can see, I'm a fantastic artist. Okay, what's he doing? Okay, well, this is actually supposed to be, I think this is my neighbor's brick wall out in front of his house. It's kind of like that. Right? So we're going to call this, okay, we're going to call this a short wall. And it's a beautiful thing because it's so short that you can actually, but you can step over it. Okay? You can step over the wall. And so you can be in here, or you can be out here. And what's out here? Makyo. Out here is the world, the energy. As soon as you leave the house tonight, right, you're back in it. You know you are. You'll probably have your radio going maybe on the way home, whatever. And that's cool, whatever you want to do. You can have any experience you want. But for this month, every time you come up against something and you have a sense of, I don't like that, or that's the greatest, anytime you come up with an idea of meaning, what something is, anytime you're going to give something an idea of meaning, just catch yourself and then take a step over the short wall. Because once you're on the other side of the wall, you have to allow it to be just as it is and just as it isn't. And yes, it's okay to give it meaning, but to allow it. You don't have to like it. You may think it's fantastic. But to step over the wall, the short wall, and just simply say, I'm going to take a good deep breath. Let's all take a good deep breath. And then we're going to tell ourselves, I don't really know. I don't really know. I just don't really know. I don't know all of the millions and millions and millions and billions of thoughts and years and ideas that have come to make this experience possible for me right now. Yes, my thoughts certainly had some influence in it, of course. But I don't know how many lifetimes I've spent that maybe I set it up in my last lifetime. Maybe my higher self is kind of driving the bus a little bit and put me in this place. Whatever it is, I'm just going to tell I don't know. I don't know. Do you have something?
This is the Sergeant Schultz theory.
Oh, the Sergeant Schultz, sir. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I know nothing.
I know nothing. That's perfect, right? So Sergeant Schultz, every time he would just say, I know nothing, right? In his German accent.
Yeah.
This is you. You step over the short wall and join Sergeant Schultz over there and repeat, I know nothing. And so if I know nothing, I'm allowing. No judgment, no engagement, no opinions. Ooh. Right?
How long are we doing this for?
January.
The whole month.
Well, there's only 28 days left now. There's only 28 days left. You're off the hook already.
Allow the whole month. Well, I find that in driving on the interstate now, I've done that, where somebody will do something that I think is stupid, and I'll go, but I don't know what that lady was thinking, or that man was thinking, or what was happening. So I've been more allowing, because you used to get aggravated on the interstate, because people cut you off and they turn, and they don't use their blinkers, and then you just gotta get to the point where you think, geez, I don't really know what's going on with that person.
So you've shifted
Somewhat, yeah.
you've shifted your practice.
Right.
Because before you used to just jump right into it and let the ego do what it's doing, but now you're tempering it by saying, wait a minute, and you're starting to bring in other ideas that change that perception or slow that attack, because that's an attack.
Or that judgment.
Judgment, it's just attack. All judgment is attack.
Yeah.
We're slowing it down.
Right.
And that's huge, right? That's really huge.
And I jumped over the wall.
Right, and so that's what that practice is jumping over the wall, okay? I'll be right back. I have a piece of paper that I want to show you and I want to give you.
It will allow that.
You will allow it? I hope everybody's on the other side of the wall. Let's see, did I put it in here? Did I bring it? You gave it to me. I did. Okay, so the art of consciousness. Oh, and by the way, the title for this, what this practice is, all of this, you guys have heard me say, some of you have heard me say this before. This is developing the art of thought. When you get it, when you really have mastered the art of thought, there is almost like, we got a red one? Yeah, we got a red one. It's almost like, no Makyo, man. I mastered the art of thought. I'm not listening to any of that bullshit anymore. I'm not letting any of that in. It's there, but it's just static. It's not disturbing your peace. Nothing's going on. You're literally kind of staying on the other side of the short wall. So, let's see. Here's what we've covered. I exist. These are the greatest words that you can ever proclaim. I exist. Because you are God. Ooh, scary stuff. Yes, you are Christ. Really scary stuff, right? That's, the small self can't even begin to accept it, but there's a part of you that knows that that's the truth. And so by just going back to the root and saying, I exist, you really are beginning to claim your identity. You're allowing a part of you to become, to begin to inform you, right, in a new way. No matter what's going on out here, I still exist. No matter what happens to this body, I exist. No matter what appears to be bad or good, I exist. And we're beginning to grasp who we are. The short wall. We will use this metaphor of the short wall to catch ourselves in the practice of allowance. Okay, so allowance, the act of withholding judgment, this is the foundation of realizing that I am the dreamer of the dream. If I'm totally allowing the dream, if I could awaken in the middle of the night in my dream and have a lucid experience as a dreamer, I could allow anything that's going on because I know that it's just a damn dream. It really has no effect. I don't have to give my dream a purpose. I can just enjoy the experience. I want to fly, so go fly. Create an apple or an orange if you choose, whatever your taste desires, because you are the creator. This is about you beginning to claim yourself now in a new way, in a true way. So we let life play itself out. We begin to witness that the world we see is only a projection of past thinking, thoughts or things, and a combination of the millions of thoughts, if not billions, of all humans playing itself out as a representation of our consciousness. Right? So if you guys want me to, I'll make a copy of this for you tonight. And you can take it, but if you go to join in the classroom, you'll see a folder under the classwork. Just click on the folder and there's a copy of it in there. You can print it out or you can read it. Do you mind making a copy?
You can give that next week too.
Well, it's out there already. If she doesn't mind. She's my wife. She loves me. And I love you. So I guess we're probably out of time. So we know our assignment. We know our assignment.
Allow.
And good get, right? Thank you, Cynthia. So let's close with a prayer. Okay, let's just join together. Let's take a good deep breath. I know we've covered a lot of material tonight. Some of it is a refresher. Some of it's pushing against some resistance. Some of it's difficult to believe or accept maybe. Now, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. We're going to practice our practice. We're going to step over the short wall. And if it's causing any disturbance, we're just going to leave it out there in the world of Makyo for now or whatever. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to agree with anything. We only are asking ourselves to begin now to practice deeply and profoundly and intently to allow. To be an allowance truly is to begin to practice forgiveness. Because in order for us to forgive anything, we literally have to begin by allowing it to be just as it is. And forgiveness is the key to the kingdom, the key to the awakened mind, the key to the returning of the self that knows itself, that loves itself, that respects itself, that recognizes that self and God are one. We join together as family, brothers and sisters, and we step over the wall together, and we allow each other to be however we want to be as an expression, to come and go as we wish or will, because this is the world, this is the dimension of free will, and there is no judgment on the short side of the wall. And even if it is, it's kept to itself. And we allow our brothers and sisters to be as they are. And we only ask the same from them. I feel truly honored to be in the company of the masters in this room. I mean that sincerely. You guys are really wonderful, and I'm so encouraged to be a part of your team here, our cluster, because we are supporting each other in the process of awakening. We are supporting each other in the process of unconditional love, of giving with no expectation of return, of giving of ourselves defenselessly. So as gratitude fills the space with us, the angels are here with us, in good company because we are angels as well. And they honor you because you have taken form. You have done this thing out of courage, commitment, and intention to experience and to literally begin to create a new experience for all that exists through your efforts, through your recognition of who and what you are and how you serve. Let's join together in gratitude as we simply say, and so it is. Thank you guys so much. I love you.